Having a Memorial Day barbecue? Expect to pay a lot more than last year.
Oh no.
What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, May the 24th, Memorial Day weekend, and wishing all the veterans and families thank you for your great sacrifice on this day, this weekend. It's always great that we have wonderful people who serve this country, unselfishly serve this country. So I wish you a meaningful Memorial Day. Please accept my thanks and my appreciation. In the meantime, if you're hosting a barbecue this weekend, well, expect to pay about 30% more than you did last year. So we can take all those inflation numbers and throw them in the toilet because it's much higher than you think. And of course, it starts with the simplest thing, ground beef, which is at 6.90 a pound, up about 17%. Liquor's up high percentage numbers. Fuel to get there is up. There ain't nothing lower. Okay. It's again, we have the same problem created by your wonderful Federal Reserve, created by a lousy economy, created by government debt and overspending, in which we, the taxpayer, have to pay for. So we can continue to hear and look at the record prices in the stock market and say, oh, well, everything is great. Well, the fact of the matter is everything is not great unless you're in the upper, I don't know, 5, 10%. It's a very, very ugly situation as we look, and of course, just take a look at the extent of the LA homeless hell. There is more homeless in LA than anywhere else in the world, and of course, it continues to grow. But yet, we hear about the major taxes that they pay and the lack of what they do, and of course, the massive amount of wealth. So the discrepancy in California, there is no greater discrepancy anywhere else. The gas prices on the rise for Memorial Day, as is history. So not only are we paying record prices, record for gas now, and I think I've heard, now I don't have the evidence of this, but I have heard that in some places in California, gas is over 8.50 a gallon. Now that may not sound like a big deal to many, but if your job depends on driving, it becomes a big problem. Okay. So once again, we have these ridiculously raising prices, and of course, we have the continuation of more layoffs. Meta not only began at 8,000 layoffs, but they closed another 6,000 job openings that they had. So that's basically a number of 14,000. Okay. So again, I think that we continue to look at this, and of course, then you look at Disney. Marvel Comics faces mass layoffs and, of course, new woke leadership. So we are not in good shape. You have Wendy's closing 350 restaurants, Jack in the Box closing 100. You've got Pizza Hut closing restaurants. You've got Five Guys closing restaurants. Again, these are not the highest paying jobs in the world, but they are jobs. They are jobs that people perform. They are now having to give up benefits, and again, where are all these people going to go? Okay, we have these major issues, and of course, Warsh was signed in or took the oath as the new Fed chair, and of course, I think that President Trump may not be as happy with this choice once this all plays out because Warsh is leaning to more of a hike in rates, not a cut. And of course, we dramatically need a hike. We are in that stagflationary area right now, which is not good. Okay. Again, stagflation is high interest rates, no jobs, high inflation. And that's right where we are now. And it's only going to get worse here. And of course, this is the problem. This goes back to the Greenspan era, but all the way through Bernanke, Yellen, and then of course Powell. But hopefully, Warsh, I have hope for Warsh that he will get things back on track and actually recognize what the Fed is supposed to be doing instead of what they are doing. Uh, but it is, he does understand how to use the tools. Let's see. Again, this is, we see smart people go into this office and become instant morons. So I don't think that'll be the case with Warsh. So that let's hope Warsh gives us a reason to say that the Fed does belong, because right now I've never felt the Fed should have been here. And we'll talk more about that in our commentary. But again, let's hope that Warsh does the right thing. Uh, Things around the world, Chinese refining rates unexpectedly plunged to all-time low. Uh, Again, you're having oil prices at highs, refining at lows. That means no money. That means it tells you that there are some major chinks in the economies worldwide. Okay. Again, we can continue to ignore it. And again, I'm not telling you to sell the market. I'm not telling you that it's over. I'm just telling you that this is just another warning sign. India's power demand hits a record high as the heat drives the usage of coal. Of course, if we were using nuclear power, we wouldn't have the problem. Now, again, I'm not against coal. I don't think we should have ever stopped using it. I think that again we get involved in, there's too much of this climate. When if you want to fix the climate, if you are a climate change believer, then nuclear power is the answer. And I think that we look at the logic of violence in what's going on in Iran, and look, the drone strikes again, great for not hurting people, but we either have to walk away from Iran and let them be Iran, or we have to take them out. I mean, that is the real simple, in a nutshell. Unfortunately, the 98% of nice and great people in Iran being controlled by the 2% of the fanatics, the martyrs, the ones that don't care about life, and the ones that want to wish death to America. So you need to do something. And of course, the problem is we have this glut of oil in this country, and we're still paying ridiculous prices. And as we said last week, Shell Oil came out with record earnings, which we said they would, and watch the rest of the oil companies as they will have record earnings as well. Now, I thought this was the laugher of the week. The U.S. sanctions the Sinaloa cartel uh, and linked to their Ethereum addresses. Do you think that, look, they can't control the cartel? So, this is another problem that we allowed to happen. But of course, the Federal Reserve is a cartel. So, there are many different styles of cartel that cannot be controlled or don't want to be controlled because there's too much money involved. So you can take that headline and call it bullshit. All right. Uh, Trump unveils major deregulation plan, promises lower grocery prices and restaurant costs. Again, this is a problem. Okay. This is where we've gotten away from the free market. Okay. This is where you have too much. I believe that there's some manipulation going on in the cattle markets. There's some price fixing. I believe in a lot of conspiracy theories that I think that go on. And again, we cannot have price regulations, okay, on things that should be determined by the free market. What we need is to eliminate the ability to price fix. What we need is the ability to control the industry, not regulate it through prices. And this is the problem, because the true price demand. I mean, everybody learned that in school, I hope. Supply demand. Okay. If the supply is equal to demand, you should have fair pricing. I mean, again, if there's oversupply, pricing will be cheaper, and if there's undersupply, pricing will be higher. And of course, if you create those things manually, you're creating a bigger problem. And trying to come up with a deregulation plan, and trying to come up with, trying to promise, it's like trying to promise lower interest rates, which are not going to happen. Okay. Again, yes, for maybe a few, you might be able to get something, but the big picture is wrong. Okay. So again, don't look for a rate cut, look for a rate hike. That would be the way we see it. And of course, A lot of warning signs out there. Markets are showing, yes, they made new highs or got very close to it. But at the end of the day, I would think between now and the election, there's going to be a pretty significant sell-off. But we'll talk about that in our market report. And this is Bubba's Bottom Line for Memorial Day weekend, Sunday, May the 24th. And again, my best to all of the families of and veterans, and to all those who gave their lives up for us to have a better country. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be back right after the break with our market report. Bubba's Bottom Line. What's up, kids? Well, I hope everything's well. Hope you had a great week. And of course, as we celebrate our veterans and their families and obviously our lost loved ones on this Memorial Day weekend, we do have sponsors, as you know. We, of course, have a new product, the Daily Trade Finder, which has been doing very well, and hopefully you'll check it out. And of course, we have brokerage partners, sponsors, and again, I have other brokers, so we give you full disclosure, but the ones I prefer, Trader Brokerage. Again, listen, it's $10 a month. That's the simplest thing I can say. It's $10 a month. Saves me over $100,000 a year in commission. At the end of the day, all of our automation is tied to Tradier. They've got some great new developments. And of course, for those who are concerned about the pattern day trading rule, that rule ends on June 4th. That's at Tradier for sure. It ends officially, but not all brokers are going to honor it for 90 days. But Tradier will, June 4th, take off the day trading restrictions. So check them out. And of course, Capital Trading Group, our futures and commodities partner, which is now running our Emergent Edge and our Gap Fill Trader. Great products. And of course, the Joy of Mom, which has been a wonderful addition to the Bubba Trading family. And of course, our high school program. Check it out. We're trying to help educate our youth. And then, of course, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with our market report right here on May the 24th. Bubba's Bottom Line. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. Excuse me. It is Sunday, Memorial Day weekend, May the 24th. And markets, after starting out the week a little bit soft, had a nice solid rally, and it was interesting. Nvidia beat on earnings, but the stock got hammered. But it goes back to what we talk about all the time. Markets anticipate, markets pre-price. So it's the old buy the rumor, sell the news, or sell the rumor, buy the news. Nothing has changed in that sentiment. I think a lot of things have changed in markets. I think that history tells us a lot, and I think that history tells us that there are so many warning signs here that there is some very serious danger to the market. And again, I'm not telling you they're going down Tuesday. Okay, I'm just telling you that there's some issues and things to be concerned about. I think if you learn to read the chart and learn to look at it, and you can make your own assessments. But as an investor, it should have nothing to do. You should only traders are really worried about this, and this is one of the things that we always warn about. Investors invest. You should never even check your portfolio. The only thing you want to know about your holdings is if something that you own has changed the reason that you bought it. Okay. If that has not changed, then there's nothing to do, and there's no reason to try to time it in and out. Okay. Traders, we trade actively from, every minute by minute to day by day to week by week. Again, that just depends. But overall, like for new money right now, I wouldn't be forcing new money into the market right now. I would be putting it somewhere like CDs are paying at a reasonable rate right now with interest rates higher. We've talked about this. We're getting close to 5% on the 10-year, and I think we'll be at 6 before the year is over. So you can continue to worry about rates, and again, they're going up. So and housing is going crazy, in certain areas. So again, this is all leading up to that major beatdown that will eventually show up. These are the warning signs. In the meantime, last week the equities that were all higher and either at highs or very near. The dollar continues to stay in that range of 96 to a buck. We're close to a buck, and we will be a seller at a buck. We've been short the euro currency, which got hammered last week. Bonds and notes had a little bit of a bounce. Interest rates came down a little bit, but again, they're still well below, and they're on their way. This is just a little bit of a bounce off oversold conditions. Bitcoin is now back on support. Sold off, came back down from the 82,000 back down to 75,000. We have no position. Gold is still churning along with silver and platinum. They're all really just getting ready for the next big breakout. That's the way that I look at it, and I'd look to be a buyer of those products. Copper is continuing to hold up at those high levels. And again, remember, it takes a lot of copper to create power and energy for AI. The grain markets had a little bit of a down week, but again, I think pretty healthy. Looking for some reason to bounce, and it looks like the cattle markets finally broke down. We'll see. Again, you know we think there's some price fixing there, so but it looks like they might have finally come down a little bit. I mean, cattle dropped last week about 6 or 7%. So let's see how that trades out. And of course, hogs continue to consolidate. Natural gas continues to hover. We have no position. Of course, crude, which we're still short, had a solid down week. Still obviously well above, but headed on lower. I think you could see crude, depending on what happens over the weekend, much lower on Tuesday. Well, actually, it'll be open tomorrow. It'll be open tonight, actually, but from a active trading standpoint. But just be careful. Remember the warning signs, and we're going to step out here for our final break and come back with my commentary on the Federal Reserve. Bubba's Bottom Line, Sunday, May the 24th. All right, kids. Well, just a quick reminder of our sponsors: Trader Brokerage, Capital Trader Group, The Joy of Mom, our high school program, Daily Trade Finder, and check it out. Again, it doesn't cost you anything. It's free. Take a look, see if it's worth it for you. And let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and my commentary. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Todd Bubba Horowitz, and of course, it's Memorial Day weekend. And again, my thoughts and prayers and wishes and thanks go out to all my veterans and those families of and those lives we've lost. And we thank you for your service. In the meantime, Warsh took office of the new Fed chair. And of course, I think that President Trump might not be happy. I think that Warsh is going to be more of a hawk, which means he's more inclined to want to raise interest rates, which I believe is the correct move here. I always thought that cutting was wrong. I think cutting is only for in case of emergency. And you know, when you have a stock market at record highs, that does not constitute an emergency to cut rates. When you have a K-shaped economy and a dramatic disparity in wealth, and you're losing your middle class, that does not dictate a cut in rates because the rate cuts only benefit those. First of all, it only benefits the banks, number one, but number two, it only benefits the extremely wealthy. So there's something to be very concerned about. So hopefully, the cartel of the Federal Reserve, which is all it is. I mean, think about who controls it: J.P. Morgan, the Rockefellers, Rothschild family. So again, when the banks and the owners control what is supposed to be a private corporation, which is the most powerful organization that controls the money, you gotta wonder, okay? And you gotta wonder if Woodrow Wilson, when they started the Fed, was in on it, okay, or got suckered. It's one of the two, okay. In the meantime, hopefully, the Warsh can start to put the Fed back on the right track because at the end of the day, I don't think we need a Fed. I think we should end the Fed, but at the end of the but it ain't going to happen now. So I can only go for the second best story is that I hope that Warsh can turn this around and at least make it a reasonable organization that does the right thing instead of that gets manipulated to do the wrong thing. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. And we thank all the families of veterans who we've lost. And we thank you for your service. And we thank you for being there for all of us Americans. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. And we're thinking of you and we send our best. Have a great weekend, everybody.